What's up, world? This is Maxwell 3000 Productions. I am Maxwell 3000. I want to welcome you to real role models in our community. I have back with me Issa Montez. Issa, thank you for being again with me, man. I really appreciate this. Welcome back to Real Role Models.
Thanks, man. It's an honor.
Yes, sir. Well, I really appreciate that too. Last time I had you with me, we really were highlighting and focusing on your business, Royal Wash and Detail, and you kind of talked a little bit how you got started. I really want to take a deeper dive into your background and kind of the story that got you here, if that's all right.
Yeah, definitely. We can do that.
Cool, cool. Well, you mentioned last time living in New Mexico. About how long have you lived here in Lebanon, Tennessee?
We moved here 2016. That's the summer of 2016. The transition started like in the beginning of that year. We moved in the Hermit area and then we bought a house right next to you, man.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so what caused you to come this way?
So we moved, I worked retail for many years, and my wife, she worked for the same company, and we both worked retail for a lot of years. We moved around the country trying to like figure out, you're just following the money. Everybody does that, you follow the money, and we moved from Texas to Ohio, from Ohio to New Mexico, and then from there we moved to the Nashville area, and it's just following the money. That's what got us here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's understandable for sure. Um, and we are liable to skip stuff because we know each other and we know each other. But just for the sake of all this, tell me a little bit about your family, and that's it's really important for me because you and your family are very close to me. So I want to make sure and we highlight. Just tell me about your family dynamic.
Oh man, so I feel like I have a beautiful family. Like I have my wife's Heather Montez. My son, he's 14, Rex Roberto Montez, and we adopted our niece, Noelia Montez. So we have her. It's probably 5 years now since she was 10, around 10. And yeah, we have boy, girl, and my wife, and we have two dogs. So you probably hear them in the background, Griff and Nova. So I feel like I have, I'm very blessed with what we have here.
Yeah, man, you do. You have a beautiful family, sir, and it's worth mentioning. Our sons. And everybody that knows me know I got all kind of kids. One of my sons and your son Rex are the same age and have been knowing each other for a good part of their lives.
Oh
So
yeah.
so we have that close connection, and you do. You got a beautiful family, and that's something to be proud of for sure. So you moved around a lot, kind of following the money, following the job. Where did you grow up at?
So I'm from South Texas. The furthest Texas you can go, like the furthest south you can go, that's where I'm at. I actually lived in a border town. It's McAllen, Texas. They call it, it's the Valley, South Texas. So that's where I was, mainly raised. That's where I went to school, high school, and that's where I started my retail, career. And man, it was a beautiful life down there. I have a big family. I come from seven brothers and sisters. And then my mom remarried. We had two more. So in total, we're nine. So we have a
Nine.
big family. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just, and like, growing up, it was like everybody was working, everybody was doing their thing. Like um, we didn't have a lot of like strict, household rules or anything like that, but we kept ourselves in check. Me and my brother were really close, Noelia's dad. So we were so close. We just kept each other, in check and making sure that we did the right things. And he was one of my, main drivers, to be, in a positive, role model for me. So yeah, dude, it just like living, like growing up in South Texas, it's a different environment. Of course, there's a lot of Hispanic culture, and I just loved it, growing up there. A lot of friends, that close knit community that we have, the Hispanic community is. and grew up playing soccer. That was my main thing, and that gave me a different, like another, source of community and like drive and like role models within my coaches, my teammates and trainers, of course. So yeah, that's South Texas where I was raised.
Okay, that's cool. And so I wanted so nine siblings, and I didn't realize that. What is the age ranges as far as your siblings?
Yeah, so now that my sister, the oldest, is 40 44. So she's 45 this year. She'll be 45 this year. And then I have a 20-year-old, the youngest will be 20.
Okay,
So
so
so yeah,
so
it's a
you kind of
120.
fall in the middle to the upper middle,
I'm right stuck in the middle, man. I'm like,
right stuck in the
yeah,
middle.
yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, I'm
all
number
right.
five. So
Okay,
I
yeah,
got it from the old siblings, and then now I'm like I bring up the younger ones, coming up with me. So I'm like
yeah,
right stuck in the middle. So it was fun growing up,
yeah,
having this, a bunch of siblings.
yeah. And I guess that is a lot of babysitters.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, honestly, we didn't even need babysitters. It was
Right.
just like we were just like as a group, we just like you joined and did whatever we needed to be done. So it was always like it was always fun, chaos, and like fights, and having like brothers and sisters. It's always
Yeah.
chaos. And I loved it, dude. It's amazing. One story I just want to tell you because I love telling this story. My brother was just like, so I would cut the grass. I just couldn't stand not having like a clean cut home, and I would always cut the grass. And he would always come home from school or from wherever he was at, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm glad you're cutting the grass so I can have a hangout in the back, getting the get grass ready for me." And I was like, "Man, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't just not I just wanted a clean cut home, like when we were growing up." So.
That's cool. That's cool. So you mentioned one brother particular that was kind of that good role model for you. So is this an older brother, and how close was he to you as far as growing up?
Oh man, so Jax, he's a year older than I am. So we were kind of like close to being like a year and a couple months. So we're really close. So he
Okay.
taught me a lot throughout life, and just I know it doesn't seem like it's like a big, age difference, but just looking at him, the way he carried himself, the way he treated his family, the way he treated everybody around him, man, that's just like what made me who I am now. Some of those
Yeah.
things, some of those traits, the way he spoke about everybody else was one of those things that I try to take with me, and he taught me a lot just by being himself. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we grew up together, like we were just like from little kids, middle school, high school. I remember so many stories I can tell you about him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's one of my that's uh like I can't even like express how much I love this guy, you know what I mean? And that's he's definitely like my role model, based on
Yeah. Yeah.
what we're talking
That's
about.
really cool, and that's something like for me, you know, I don't have any biological brothers. I call you my brother, and I take that very seriously. And there's some other guys that I consider that same way. You know what I mean? And that's heartfelt. But growing up, you know, I I had my sisters, and we had a really good relationship growing up, and we rolled pretty tough. I mean, our family when
Yeah.
we was rolling pretty tough. Um, but I can imagine, I know how important brotherhood, as far as camaraderie, and friendship and that accountability that you kind of mentioned, has been to me. And so I can just imagine how cool that is to have somebody that's that close to in your family like that. Um, and that's just a really cool way to grow up, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like it's for me, just growing up with him, like, and of course my other brothers and sisters, like everybody's like really close, and We have a good, I try to keep the best relationship with everybody as I can. You know what I mean? Of
Yeah,
course, it's family, things happen.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You can be perfect, but at the same time, like I feel like I have the best relationship I can offer to every single one of my siblings. So, yeah, it's fun growing up in a big family, man.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I mean, we could spend a long time, and maybe we'll get together and come back and talk more about your family because that's pretty interesting as well. And I think there's another dynamic you mentioned about the Hispanic culture, and I really have an interest just to dive into that kind of particularly. But you said that you were into soccer. What other interest did you have kind of growing up as far as maybe sports? Were you into cars pretty? I mean, you said you were always kind of into cars. Were you already kind of stuck on cars pretty early on?
Yeah.
What were your interests kind of coming
So
up?
So yeah, like soccer was my main thing. You know, I grew up like with there was a soccer field right across the street. So we play soccer, you know, all the time. Well, that's one of my main things, one of my the things that got me out and just kept me physically fit and moving around. I played football, you know, junior high, high school. And of course, cars were one of my big thing. I wanted to drive so bad. Like I wanted to learn how to drive. I stole my mom's truck a couple times, drove around the neighborhood. And when my brother, like my older brother, which is Leo, he always had cars. He had a '88 Camaro, but it was beat up, that was rusted everywhere, and it was stick shift. And I always wanted to drive his car, and he was like, "Hey, dude, like, you wanna?" Can I borrow your car? Can I borrow your car? And he was just like, say, no, 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 you don't even know how to drive. You can't do this. You can't do that. And then one day he was like, I'll let you drive if you can drive reverse around the whole block. And it's just a stick shift, and I gotta ride reverse, and I managed to do it. So I drove that car in reverse around the block, and he was like, "All right, let's go to the gas station. Let's go buy some whatever." And we went to the gas station, and he was teaching me like, make sure that you don't stall out, and it was just like that. Develop a love for cars, so it was awesome.
That's cool. That's cool. There's something to me, and there maybe this is something we need to get into another time as well. There's something really American about that, and maybe really Hispanic American about that, and other things like that. But we have to dive into that another time. What about school? What was school like? Were you interested in school? I mean, you had your brother there with you.
Yeah.
What was that experience like coming through grade school?
Oh man, so as far as socially, it was easy. Everything was great. I was able to talk. It's about if you smile to people, if you carry yourself in a way and you just like have a positive attitude, I think positive things comes your way. The people you surround yourself with, it's a big thing. You know, you see the people that are doing, are mischievous and like doing all these different things. You might gravitate towards that, but as long as you stay in a good environment and you know where your limits are and where what you engage what the good and bad is, I think you can definitely be successful in school. So as far as like socially, it was easy for me. I'm very personable. And as far as like in like actual school, man, it was so easy for me. Like I don't think I ever did homework, which was, it's bad to say I'm not here in role model situation, but it came natural to me. Like I would just sit down, take notes, and I didn't have to do much, like it was just like a thing for me that I can easily transition like lectures and like taking notes and reading the subject, and it just like translated really easy to me. So as far as like, that part of it, like the educational part of it, it was pretty easy.
That's
I'm very
cool.
good at math. I'm very good at science. I was very interested in science and history. Language arts was a little bit harder for me. Reading and writing. I can read, I can write. It's very simple. I can understand all those things, but that was on the back burner for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
But I was just like my math brain was easy. Like everything math, everything science was my jam for sure.
Cool. Well, so what was kind of your trajectory coming out of high school? Do you think? Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do or what the
I
path was?
I did. I went to college for business marketing. I wanted to be, I wanted to be, when I was younger, I wanted to be a air traffic controller. That was like, my little kid dream when I was in fourth,
Yeah,
fifth grade, air traffic controller. But as I got older, I felt like I always wanted to, do something for myself. I grew up in a family where everybody was, hardworking. My brother-in-law, he married into our family. He had his own business, and I knew, I worked under him for a while, and I had a lot of people that had their own business, and I could see how successful they were. So I wanted to have something for myself. So when I went to college, it was for business marketing, and did 2 years, and my retail career just like kicked off, and I thought it was, I was so easy to me. Like I said, like it's easy for me to talk to people and relate to people. So a retail was, a career path that I could, take off from there.
sales,
And
right? You was just
yeah,
right.
yeah, sales. Yeah.
Yeah,
All I did was, I worked commission, so
yeah, sure.
it was always, going out there making the sale, and it got me where I'm at now. Like it just built from there. I left college, which is unfortunate, but I was able to just parlay all that, some of that knowledge into like my career. So
That's really cool too. And so there's another. I think there's another discussion to be had there too. And you know that I've been to school. I've got degrees and all that stuff. But it really depends on what you're trying to do, right? And as far as you can learn some things in sales and you can learn some things about business, but some of that stuff you really just have to get out in the world and kind of learn. And some of that stuff you just kind of, I mean, you got to, some things can be practiced at, but, and I know you personally, I think that you do have a natural talent of kind of speaking with people and that idea of sales and marketing. So I can see that as being a natural talent. Um, but I also know that, people can train themselves to do different things. But some of that stuff is you just got to get out and live it, right? You can learn
yeah,
only so much about closing the sale in a classroom, right? Eventually, you've got to
yeah,
get out and you've got to talk to somebody, right?
exactly, yeah,
Yeah. And then once again, I think that's something we maybe, if I can get you back on here, we can revisit some of these other things. Um, to kind of wrap us up in this session and kind of keep us brief, looking back, I mentioned earlier our sons and them growing up and kind of together. If looking back over your life, you could maybe give them a couple, maybe three lessons or values to really hold on to, what would be those things?
so one thing that I tell Rex all the time is just like, is showing up. Showing up is one thing that he needs to, I like to let him know. It's like, hey, showing up for not just for yourself, but for your family and for people that are um relying on you. So showing up is number one. I think it's the big thing. So another one that I always tell them to is never give up. There's always opportunity. And with that, I tell them as well to, take what you have and do the best you can with what you have, So those are the three things that I tell him. And I hope that, he takes it on the show. You know how kids are. Sometimes they're
Yeah,
just like, yeah, yeah, dad, it's okay, whatever.
yeah,
His
yeah,
his yeah, dad.
yeah,
You know how
yeah,
it is, but I hope that if I say it, enough that it just like it sticks with him. And I try to do those things, and I live it. So hopefully he sees it, and then he can just push through and do those same things, in his life.
yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, bro. I think as far as my perspective, you do live those things. You know what I'm saying? And those your actions are consistent with what you're saying. You know what I mean? And so not with just kids, but with anybody. Like, I can tell you one thing, but if you don't see me living it, it's not going
Yeah.
to hold a lot of value. So I
Same.
think you're doing that, bro, and you're living it, man. I commend you for it. Um, well, hey, bro, man, I want to thank you again for doing this
Oh,
with
thanks,
me.
man.
There's really a lot of stuff that we could have spent a whole lot of time on. So I would
Yeah.
like to get you back on here and do this if we could.
Oh yeah, definitely, dude. I'm all for it. Like I have so many different stories that I can share, and a lot of, like you said, values and ideas and things that, I know that, having, living it and expressing it, it just feels good to share it. And you give me this avenue, which is, it's amazing that you're letting me do this in your platform.
Man, it's dope stuff, man. I want to thank you again. This has been Real Role Models in our community. Maxwell 3000 Productions. I am Maxwell 3000. Peace and love.